Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL. Don't panic. God, it seems like ages since I did a video, and we've still got another week and a half to go before another Premiership football is kicked and we can get back into this crazy game. What I want to do today, not really 100% sure. A lot of thought processes going on over the last week. So where do I want to start? Name this video. Do I play the ball? Do I play the man? I'll tell you where that comes from. I'll tell you a little story. I haven't told you a story for a while, have I? Just going to turn the light on, as the light doesn't look that great. I think that's better. Find out when I do the playback. Yeah, tell you a story. I haven't told you a story for a while. I think this is reasonably relevant. It may not be, but I'll tell you a story anyways. It was 2013. I was working for a company I've mentioned once or twice, analytics company that shall remain nameless. And boss at the time, it was the Rugby World Cup was being held in New Zealand, and the boss at the time, lovely fella, still in contact with him, great man, called Ulrich, decided we'd have a tipping competition for the Rugby World Cup. So we all got this little link to this thing, and we locked in, we. It's a tipping competition, so right for the competition, you just had to tip who you thought was going to win and whether you thought the team was going to win by under 10 points or over 10 points. And it was we ran it as a global competition for our company, so there's probably about a couple of hundred people in it, all around the world in our company. And so I put all my tips for the group stages. I came out of that, so doing okay. I'm number one, winning our competition of 200 people, and and the prize was a Rugby World Cup jersey of your choice. Mine would have obviously been Ireland, and. Then so I got to the quarter-final stage, and I sort of looked at them. Oh, I'm doing really well. I'm still number one in our company. Yeah, might get a Rugby World Cup jersey out of this. And I thought, oh, what's this button here? And I clicked this button. And actually, it was actually a national competition as well for New Zealand with about 80,000 people in it. And I was sitting in something like 17,000th position. I thought, that's not bad out of 80,000 people. I just didn't realise we were actually in this like big national competition, which was being run by the major newspaper in Ireland, in New Zealand. And I sort of had a look at it and I thought, oh, if I tip everything, it's going to be unlikely, but if I tip every single match right from now until the final, I might actually scrape it into the top three. And I did, and I started doing my research, looking back historically on results, how teams performed in quarterfinals, all sorts of things. And even though Ireland were playing Wales in one of the quarterfinals, and Ireland were the shit-hot favourites, and I was at the game, and I would have given my right gonad for Ireland to have won that match. I knew Ireland's history. I thought, they're not going to win. They just don't do it. So sure enough, yeah. So every match I just knew my rugby, but also just did my research, going back over the years and stuff like that. And it got to the final, and I was lying third. And I thought, amazing. But it was France versus New Zealand. And I thought, okay, well, I think New Zealand are going to win that. And but New Zealand were tipped to be hot favourites for it because they'd beaten France by something like 30 points in the group stages. And I thought, no, it's going to be 10 or under. 10 or under. As the problem with that is that I would need the other two guys above me to go for France. It's the only way that that I could get it. So I thought, I'll just go for France. Go for France. Maybe there'll be a shock result. And then I just thought about it, and I actually asked one of our analysts, a really good guy by the name of Adam. He says, "What do you do?" He says, "You've got to ask yourself: Does you play the ball or do you play the man?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "What do you think the others are going to do?" I thought, okay. Well, I think they're going to go for France because they're going to think everyone behind them is going to go for France, and I want to go for New Zealand anyways because I really do think that New Zealand are going to win by 10 points and under. New Zealand won by 10 points and under. The two guys above me went for France because they thought that's what everyone below them was going to do. And I won the fucking thing. It's crazy. 80,000 people. Um, so what's that all about? Not 100% sure yet, but I feel as though I'm in a similar sort of position to that in a way at the moment. I brought my. I'm going to use this little video for FPL from FPL Hub because it's just easier to show some of the connotations I'm thinking about at the moment. But as you can see in this, going back a little bit of the historical here as well. As most of you that have followed me regularly know, the failed chip strategy here, which seemed with all the good intentions in the world, where I had no upside and in fact downside, particularly when I played my wild card, and we won't even talk about the bench boost, which was accidentally played in game week 1. But anyway, flawed chip strategy. But once I got myself sorted out, got into my data, got into my strategy in terms of my spreadsheet and looking to try and achieve that 70-point average, we've been ticking along very, 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 very nicely. Bit of a dip there around the Saka injury, where I had a bit of a panic and did some silly, silly things, but got it back on track once again. And and done since it's pretty much since here. Well, since here really. The average has actually been well over the 70s. It's been about 73 actually. Unfortunately, now we come into the pay the price for the mistakes of the past, namely over here. What I don't want to see is a big going down there as we're hitting these double game weeks, these blank game weeks. And it's how do I manage my way through that? So far, I have survived. In fact, I'd say I think I did make the right decision when I did that the wild card in 28. It's given me a bit of a steady rise. Sorted out just to I had to play it because my team was literally decimated. Everything. Anyone that was injured or potential rotation or doubt. I had them, and it was just getting worse and worse week on week. And I was actually going to be, but now going into this game week, have I done nothing? I wouldn't even be. I'd probably have about 5 players going now, if you actually go through all the various commutations of the players that I had. That as I say were everything from Nyanweri to everyone. I had them all. I had them all. Cunha, etc. I had everyone. So it was the right decision, and I've gained a little bit of upside there. But now I don't even have obviously the wild card as we move into. The double for Crystal Palace and Newcastle, and we've also then moved straight into the big double and in 33, or perceived big double, and the blanks in 34. So let's get into this. This will come up nice and clear for you guys. However, my wildcard's been working reasonably well. I do have a good team going out for this next game week. I've got 2 transfers. Questions become, what I really would like to be in by game week 33 in my sort of ideal world, would be, Haaland, Mateta, and Isak, up front. Maybe, a Sar. I can't have Sar because I'm at Crystal Palace, but Murphy, etc. Where am I going with this? I could reasonably comfortably have 6 players going out for this double game week for Newcastle Palace. We also are fairly confident that Palace will have a double. The results would have to be a series of results would be fairly unlikely to happen. That would mean that Palace would be doubling. Questions I ask myself is, what Mateta do we get back? After having a pretty nasty head injury, is he going to come back firing? And I do like Mateta a lot. I like Isak a lot, but what Newcastle are we getting back after the Carabao Cup final? Do I really want to overinvest in Newcastle? Do I just go with could get Isak in, Mateta, see how he shapes up. maybe in this, hopefully he should have a match in this FA Cup match, see how he looks in that. See, what I'm thinking as much as anything, and I know, as I did say, this was going to be a bit of a rambly little video. What are other players going to do at the moment? How big is the risk? Players are going to be. We know that people are going to be free hitting and wildcarding over the next couple. The bench. You know what I'm more scared of is the bench boosters. It's the bench boosters. I think I can keep in touch. I will drop back a bit over the next few game weeks. I will drop back a bit. There's just no way around it. But people are going to be coming out at 34, and they'll be free hitting. You know, because I will have played that wild card. I've already played mine. Although I'm not optimized, I can make a few tweaks, but I can get to 34 with 3 to 4 transfers, and they'll be free hitting just to get through that game week. And as I don't think I'm going to come out and be looking in too bad a shape of that game week, and have the equivalent of a mini wild card. So I'm setting myself up for the rest of the season, where a lot of these players are going to be coming out in 34. Yeah, they'll free hit. They'll optimize for that game week. But then they're back to the team that they had before, and then they may well have it well thought out, and they may be well set up for the rest of the season. Yeah, it's a complicated one, isn't it? I don't think I can really make any significant decisions until we have actually got that lie of the land at least. But we're not even going to know. We're gonna know who are going to be the doublers, but we don't know yet. We've been surprised so many times this season. We've made moves based on what we believe is going to happen, where we think doubles are going to fall, etc. And then all of a sudden we get double game week announcements where we're not expecting them. And I just think we're all sort of investing into, and listen, it might happen. We're all investing into this idea that game week 33 is going to be the big double. Suppose we get another couple in 35 or 36. You know, is it worth me thinking, hey, this team actually looks okay? Let's just maybe bring in Mateta if he looks good, because obviously you do need to have some coverage in the doubles. I think I'm going to have a decent amount of players when this all transpires. I still think if that I will still have the way I've actually set up this wild card and knowing what could be happening. I'm still going to have some very good players in that doubles, and sometimes we invest so much in these doubles and we feel we're optimized, and it is a massive letdown. And I'm just wondering if banking up those transfers, just doing a couple of tweaks, just to optimize a little bit going into this double game week 32, 33. So not more advantage to me to actually let some transfers rack up so I can do like a mini wild card in 34. Because how much am I really going to fall back? How much am I really going to fall back? If I'm missing a couple of players, as opposed to really sort of seeing where I'm at come 34, have 4 or 5 transfers, optimize the hell out of it for that run-in, and also still have as I say, obviously you've been able to just make a tweak week in week out to maybe target your Southamptons, your Leicesters, and your Ipswiches, so that I've got 1 or 2 players each week, ideally in the attacking spaces, attacking those guys. Yeah, it really is a game of 4-dimensional chess. It feels like sometimes. So do I just play what's in front of me, optimize, as in play the game? Or do I think about what other people are doing? Well, they will be doing that. They're going to be playing their free hits. They're going to be playing their wild cards. They'll be taking money out of their team to have a bench. That they can wild card on, and maybe taking money out of the main team. So that may not be fully optimized. Oh, yeah, it's an interesting one. I do enjoy it, but in some ways I'm actually, quite enjoying the fact that I have to actually navigate it on this sort of a level without a chip, because it's certainly going to put me in good stead for next year, because I certainly won't make the same mistakes next year. Looking at the team in general, as I say, I do find FPL Hub interesting when I actually do put my team in. And you guys know when I do my spreadsheet, I make my predictions. Quite interesting. I think my prediction for this team, and most commutations I do with that, is that optimized? It will be optimized in the moment with Strand Larson yellow. But yeah, just finding most commutations when I do this in my spreadsheet is coming out about roughly the same result for me. 62, 63, but mine's are always without captaincy. So I'm finding it quite interesting that FPL Hub is coming out with a sort of similar sort of result, but it's obviously got the captaincy in there. If I am, even without the optimized team, hitting around that 70 points over the next couple of game weeks, the 70-point average, and I get to that game week 34 with 5 transfers in hand, and then really set myself up. Feels as though it might get me the best result, but it'll be scary as hell over the next few game weeks. But if I play it smart, just bring in the right players, maybe use 2, 3 transfers at most. So maybe I do get Isak in. And Mateta. I'd have to see where the money's coming from to actually have those 2 in, and probably the only way to do it would be to lose Mbemo, I think, to have enough to do 2. And not sure I really want to use Mbemo. I've got this funny feeling he's going to bounce back. He just seems to perform better against some of the better teams, doesn't he? Every time I brought him in, it seems when he's had like a decent fixture run, he's done nothing for me. I get rid of him, he starts playing them slightly more difficult teams, and then he starts banging them in again. So I'd be reluctant to lose him. I could bring Gabriel down too, but I'd have to bring him down to a next to nothing. I mean, he would have to be almost like we would be moving into Greaves territory. So that probably is my biggest problem, to actually bring in Mateta and Isak would require a big sacrifice somewhere. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that either. Anyway, that is a very, 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 very waffly little video because I haven't done anything for a bit. Anything else I wanted to cover? No, it's kind of it really. Yeah, we've got a week and a half to go. I just doing a little inner monologue thing to see if it, because sometimes actually having these little chats with you guys, it just clarifies my own thought. But, it hasn't clarified anything other than there are a couple of paths I could take. I suspect my path will end up in somewhere down the middle and trying to do a little bit of both. But until we get the results of those cup matches, and until really, until we know where those games have been scheduled, because I'm going to bet a pound to a penny that it's not going to be what we expect. Everyone's expecting this double game week 33 to be massive, but I think there's going to be a few surprises there. Games that are not actually scheduled there. It's not going to be as big as what we thought. So maybe the bigger question to me is this: do I actually just do nothing for this coming game week? I've actually got a good team going out. Whatever connotation I put out, it actually looks pretty good. Do I wish I had an Isak in there straight away or a Mateta? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure I do. But is it actually going to make that big a difference? Some said, I've got to give the example of Bruno. I was like, at the Bruno FOMO, the Bruno FOMO, the Bruno FOMO. Then I regretted not getting Bruno in. But then I've actually looked at it again, and I thought, actually, I'm glad I didn't get him in. Yeah, he got 17 points. Would have had to take in a hit. Would have probably been Castagna that would have come in for Gabriel. So I'd lost Gabriel, who I rate more highly than Castagna. They'd have cancelled each other out. I'd have taken the 4 points off the 17, that's 13. I wasn't going to captain Bruno. I would have always captained Haaland, for right or for wrong, as it would have proved for wrong, but that's where I would have gone. And then you look at the Man United fixtures in the next 3, they're horrible. Now, that's not saying Bruno's not going to return, but over the next 3 game weeks, would I prefer to have an Isak or a Bruno? That's a fairly easy answer to that. Or a Mateta with some of those fixtures. That's a fairly easy answer. So, yeah, is it just... Am I going back to just rolling this week till we really have the full picture, even though it might cost me a little bit this week? Because I think people are going to be free hitting early. I'm going to not free hitting early. People will be going with their wild cards early this week. And there's just no way, Wood, hate to say it, but Man United at home, he could just as easily get as many points as an Isak. Could Isak go off on one and get a hat trick? Of course he could. He's an absolutely superb player. But again, I'll go back to the point of what Newcastle are we going to get post Carabao Cup final? When going to put a lot of energy, a lot of emotion into that. There's going to be a big expectation on them at St James's Park that they will either fulfill and score 3 or 4 goals, or come up very, very flat. As I said, yes, it's football. We just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I think I might be going back to that. Just roll and keep my fingers crossed, build up the transfers so that I can optimize a little bit for the doubles, but not overinvest. So I'm coming out in 34 and able to really optimize with free transfers and the ones that I'll get across the rest of the season in case there are any more doubles, unexpected doubles. And moving into beach football territory. Where do we think the goals are going to be in beach football and who's going to be scoring them? We'll see. I think I'll leave it at that. That was a mad waffle. Hope it made some kind of sense. Anyway, hope you're enjoying the FPL break. Still trying to catch up with Jason, so that'll be the only video that's probably going to happen in the next week or so. We'll keep having clashes of dates to do a review of his team, the lad that's top of the FPL Don't Panic mini league, doing very, very well. So hopefully that will be a video we'll get out before the next game week. But if it isn't, that probably will be it until we get the FA Cup result, and then there's going to be a very, very short turnaround deadline. So much to think about, but nothing we can do until we see what the results of those matches are. Anyway, take care, have fun, play your own game, don't panic. Talk soon. Bye-bye.